The Galactic Empire's rule had spread like a dark shadow across the galaxy. For years, it had maintained its iron grip over countless fringe civilizations, using its military might to enforce crippling taxes, seize valuable resources, and impose draconian laws. Planets once thriving with their own cultures were now little more than hushed, fearful territories, their resources drained and their people controlled. Entire worlds were subjected to the Empire's whims, their economies in ruins, their skies patrolled by Imperial battleships. Resistance seemed impossible, their oppressors' reach was too vast, their power too overwhelming. But hidden within this expanse of despair, a quiet flame of rebellion flickered to life. Earth, an unassuming planet by galactic standards, had watched the suffering of its distant neighbors. The human leaders had been following the Empire's brutal expansion with growing concern, and there came a realization: they could no longer stand idle. Recognizing an opportunity and a duty, Earth's leaders began reaching out, initiating covert communication with those who had been pushed to the edge by the Empire's rule. This was not a mission of mercy but of mutual survival and strategy. In a secluded part of space, far from the Empire's watchful eyes, a meeting took place. Representatives from these fringe civilizations had gathered, each species unique in appearance, language, and temperament. At the center of this unlikely assembly stood the human envoy, a figure of calm amidst the tense, cautious atmosphere. The Korath delegation, known for their translucent skin and bright yellow eyes, had brought their unparalleled stealth technology. The Zintari, with their crystalline exoskeletons, offered advanced propulsion systems that defied known physics. The Lithan, towering beings with bioluminescent patterns on their skin, offered advanced quantum computing technologies. In exchange, Earth's diplomats promised access to their own innovations, their strategic position in the galaxy, and an unbreakable resolve. Discussions were long, sometimes devolving into heated debates, with suspicion casting shadows over every word spoken. These civilizations had never been allies. They were too different, their histories too fraught with mistrust. But the promise of a shared goal, to challenge the Empire's dominance, brought them back to the table, again and again. Earth's representative proposed an alliance, a secret pact that would leverage their combined strengths. The plan was audacious, a hidden fleet, constructed in secrecy, drawing on the unique technologies of each civilization. If successful, they would have a weapon powerful enough to strike at the heart of the Empire's control. But forming such an alliance was no simple task. Mistrust ran deep. The Korath questioned the humans' motives, suspecting that Earth sought only to gain power in the chaotic wake of an imperial downfall. The Zintari were skeptical of working alongside those they had seen as technologically inferior. There were endless discussions, hours of debates, and moments where it seemed the fragile alliance might fracture before it began. Logistical challenges loomed large, coordinating construction efforts across multiple star systems, language barriers leading to dangerous misunderstandings, and the ever-present fear of Imperial spies learning of their plans. Yet, slowly but surely, they made progress. Earth's delegation worked tirelessly to bridge the gaps, introducing cultural liaisons and mediators, translating intentions and establishing trust. Gradually, the barriers began to fall. A Lithan engineer worked side by side with a human technician, marveling at the other's ingenuity in problem-solving. A Korath scientist, initially skeptical, began to see the value in human creativity and unconventional thinking. Small victories like these began to build a foundation of trust. The alliance became more than just a fragile coalition, it began to feel like a partnership. And then, the real work began. In hidden shipyards, far beyond the Empire's gaze, construction commenced on a fleet unlike any other. It was an ambitious endeavor, a hybrid fleet, combining the best technologies from each civilization. Earth's orbital factories went into overdrive, churning out modular components, while hidden outposts across various allied planets began the delicate process of assembling these components into warships. Under the watchful eye of seasoned engineers from multiple worlds, the ships took shape. A frigate armed with Zintari stealth drives and Korath plasma shields, human-engineered hulls reinforced with Lithan alloys. Cruisers with unheard-of speed and maneuverability, destroyers equipped with weapons that could bend light itself. There were setbacks, as there always are in endeavors of such scale. A miscommunication led to a malfunction in the propulsion systems, nearly destroying a half-assembled destroyer. At another point, tensions flared between the Korath and Zinthari over technological sharing protocols, threatening to unravel the entire alliance. But each crisis was met with determination and ingenuity. Humans, with their ability to adapt and improvise, played a crucial role in navigating these challenges, proposing creative solutions, and mediating disputes with patience and persistence. Finally, the first signs of success began to emerge. A test ship, the first true product of their collaboration, launched from a secret facility near the asteroid belt. It moved with a grace and speed that no single civilization could have achieved on its own. In its maiden flight, the ship's sensors remained undetected by Imperial probes, its weapons demonstrated extraordinary efficiency, and its stealth capabilities made it virtually invisible to all known forms of surveillance. Those who had been skeptical now watched in awe, realizing the magnitude of what they had built together. As the new fleet took shape in its hidden shipyards, the Alliance felt the first glimmer of hope. The impossible seemed suddenly achievable. Earth and its newfound allies had done more than just form a coalition. They had created a force that could challenge the very foundations of the Galactic Empire. The first battle was yet to come, but the Alliance had taken a critical step toward its goal, a fleet that would soon take the galaxy by storm. The hidden shipyards bustled with activity, the hum of machinery blending with the voices of engineers and scientists from worlds across the galaxy. Each ship under construction was a testament to collaboration, each a unique blend of technology that had never been seen before. Fighters darted through space with unparalleled agility, their movements almost organic, thanks to the advanced propulsion systems borrowed from the Zinthari. These nimble craft could turn on a dime, their thrusters fine-tuned to react faster than the human mind could perceive. Next came the cruisers, larger vessels equipped with cloaking devices perfected by the Korath, who had long mastered the art of moving unseen. These cruisers could vanish from sensors, slipping past enemy lines unnoticed. Their hulls, crafted from Lithon alloys, absorbed and deflected energy, making them nearly impervious to standard weapons. But the real secret lay in the human innovation that tied all these technologies together, a new kind of neural interface that allowed ships to communicate instantly, reacting as a single, unified entity in battle. This innovation made the fleet more than just a collection of ships, it became an extension of the crew's intent, fluid and unpredictable. Human and alien engineers worked tirelessly, side by side, learning from each other's expertise. They faced countless technical problems, each more complex than the last. A Zinthari propulsion engineer and a human systems analyst huddled over blueprints, arguing over power distribution. Nearby, a Korath mechanic struggled to adapt their cloaking technology to Earth-built frames, frustrated by the limitations of materials they had never encountered before. Yet, amidst the chaos, breakthroughs occurred. The Lithon bioluminescent technology, initially deemed incompatible with human interfaces, was adapted to enhance sensor ranges, allowing the fleet to detect threats before they even entered the system. In the middle of this organized frenzy stood Commander Reyna Hart, a seasoned human strategist known for her unconventional tactics and sharp instincts. A veteran of Earth's orbital defense force, she had joined the Alliance out of a sense of duty and a deep-seated belief in resisting tyranny. Beside her were other leaders of the fleet, General Delash, a Lithon military leader whose luminescent skin pattern signaled authority and wisdom, and Ambassador Kai of the Zinthari, a diplomat-turned-tactician who had witnessed the Empire's brutality firsthand and sought revenge for his devastated homeworld. The atmosphere was charged with anticipation and nervous energy. The time had come for the first test of their collaborative effort. Deep within a remote asteroid field, far from prying eyes, the fleet's first hybrid ship was ready to show its capabilities. As the countdown began, the crew watched intently. The ship moved into position, engaging its cloaking device, and disappeared from view. Moments later, it reappeared miles away, evading the asteroids with a speed and maneuverability that left even the most seasoned pilots in awe. Its weapons fired in perfect harmony, striking simulated targets with pinpoint accuracy, the advanced targeting systems easily compensating for the ship's rapid movements. Cheers erupted across the control room, and even the typically reserved Lidhans allowed themselves a smile. The test had been a success, but it was more than just a demonstration of power. It was proof that this unlikely alliance could produce something extraordinary. Yet, before the celebrations could begin in earnest, an urgent communication arrived. A transmission crackled through, its origin from a rebel faction in a distant star system, pleading for help. The message was brief but clear: the Galactic Empire was preparing a large-scale assault. The threat was imminent, and time was running out. Commander Hart glanced at the other leaders, a silent agreement passing between them. The fleet was ready, but the real battle was only just beginning. The Galactic Empire's command center buzzed with the calculated efficiency of a war machine preparing for battle. At its heart stood Admiral Varric, an imposing figure with a reputation for ruthlessness. He gazed over the holographic display of a distant star system, a system marked as rebellious, a thorn in the Empire's side. His cold, steely eyes flicked across the data feeds, his expression one of sheer contempt. These rebels, he thought, were nothing more than minor nuisances. He had crushed 100 such uprisings and would crush 100 more. Varric's confidence was mirrored in the fleet at his disposal. Massive battleships, each capable of leveling entire cities with a single blast, lined the Imperial docks. Heavily armed carriers, brimming with thousands of fighters, were prepared to launch their payloads at the slightest command. The Empire's fleet was vast, a symbol of its dominance and might. To Varric and his subordinates, Earth and its backwater allies were inconsequential, barely worth a second thought. As far as they knew, Earth was a weak and isolated planet, its technology centuries behind, its people divided and insignificant. Briefing his officers, Varric made it clear: this rebellion would be dealt with swiftly and brutally. He outlined a strategy of overwhelming force, a rapid strike designed to crush resistance in a matter of hours. The arrogance in his voice was palpable as he dismissed the idea of any meaningful opposition. There was no need for subtlety or restraint. The rebels would be made an example of, a lesson to all those who dared defy imperial rule. Any resistance would be met with utter annihilation. Meanwhile, on Earth's hidden moon base, the Alliance received the rebel faction's plea for help. The council chamber filled with tension as leaders from Earth and its allied civilizations gathered to discuss the next move. The atmosphere was fraught with urgency. Time was running out. Commander Rayna Hart, seated at the head of the table, listened intently as the transmission replayed once more. It was clear: the Empire was preparing to move, and the rebels stood no chance without support. Voices rose in heated debate. Some argued that revealing their fleet now, before it had even seen battle, would jeopardize everything they had built. They risked exposing themselves to an enemy that still vastly outnumbered them. Others believed that letting the rebellion be crushed would break the spirit of the galaxy's oppressed, leaving them more vulnerable than ever. Ambassador Kai of the Zintari urged caution, suggesting they wait for a more opportune moment. General the Lash of the Lidhan countered, his bioluminescent skin glowing in agitation, that a delay could mean certain death for the rebels and a missed opportunity to show the galaxy they were ready to fight back. Commander Hart watched the discussion unfold, her jaw set with determination. She understood the risks. She knew the cost of engaging too soon, but she also knew the cost of doing nothing. Her voice cut through the noise, calm but firm. If we stand by and do nothing, we let the Empire crush another hope, another spark of resistance. We've built this fleet to make a difference, to challenge the Empire's arrogance. Now is our chance to prove that we are more than shadows in the dark. There was a pause, a silence that hung heavily in the air. Hart's words weighed on everyone in the room. The logic was undeniable, but so was the danger. The debate continued, but it was clear her words had struck a chord. The council members glanced at one another, and gradually, one by one, nods of agreement began to spread across the table. Finally, with a decisive nod, General the Lash spoke up. "We move," he declared, and a ripple of agreement followed. Ambassador Kai reluctantly agreed, and soon the entire council had reached a consensus. The fleet would engage, taking the risk to save the rebellion and announce to the galaxy that Earth and its allies were ready to challenge the Empire's rule. The decision was made. Orders were given, and the secret fleet, hidden and waiting, began to mobilize. Engines hummed to life, cloaking devices engaged, and the ships moved silently from their hidden base, making their way toward the distant star system. The Alliance had chosen to act, to face the might of the Galactic Empire head-on, knowing that from this moment on, nothing would ever be the same. The Imperial fleet advanced steadily, a vast armada cutting through the void of space. Admiral Varric stood on the bridge of his flagship, surrounded by the gleam of holographic displays. His officers moved with calm efficiency, confident in their superiority. This mission would be swift, another rebellion crushed, another victory for the Empire. The reports indicated no significant threats in the area, just a ragtag group of dissidents waiting to be swept aside. The fleet neared the rebellious star system, its ships ready to unleash their full firepower. Varric allowed himself a faint smile. The rebels would never know what hit them. He had no reason to suspect otherwise. Earth and its allies were barely worth a mention in the intelligence briefings, considered too primitive and divided to mount any challenge. He leaned back, satisfied, as his ships formed their attack lines. Then, without warning, the space around them seemed to shimmer. For a moment, it appeared as though the very fabric of reality was shifting. An alarm blared, and Varric's smile faded. From the dark expanse of the asteroid belt, ships began to emerge, first a few, then dozens, and then hundreds. They seemed to materialize from nowhere, decloaking with a precision that left the Empire's sensors scrambling to adjust. The Alliance fleet had arrived, catching the Empire completely off guard. Panic rippled through the Imperial ranks. Orders were shouted, commands frantically relayed, but the Alliance's fleet moved with a fluidity that defied expectation. Fighters darted through the gaps between the Empire's ships, weaving through laser fire with impossible agility. The enemy's cruisers flickered in and out of visibility, their cloaking devices activated and deactivated in quick succession to confuse targeting systems. Destroyers appeared at unexpected angles, using short-range warp jumps to reposition faster than the Empire could track. Admiral Varric barked orders, trying to regain control, but his fleet was in chaos. The Alliance ships, though smaller in number, moved with an uncanny coordination, almost as if they were a single entity. The Empire's heavy carriers launched their fighters, expecting to overwhelm with sheer numbers, but the Alliance pilots used speed and agility to evade and strike with lethal precision. The Empire's battleships fired their massive turbolasers, but their targets seemed to dance around the beams, anticipating every shot. At the center of this maelstrom, Commander Reyna Hart led the assault. She directed her fleet with calm authority, her voice steady as she coordinated complex maneuvers. Beside her, the Allied captains showed their own brilliance. General Delash led his cruisers in a tight formation, using their advanced shields to absorb initial fire, then quickly dispersing into smaller groups to flank the enemy. Ambassador Kai's fighters struck from unexpected angles, using gravity wells created by the Zintari technology to pull Imperial ships off course. Hart spotted an opportunity and seized it. She ordered her destroyers, fitted with warp-hopping capabilities, to breach the center of the Imperial formation. In a blink, they were there, unleashing volleys of energy that tore through the Empire's ranks. The enemy's flagship shuddered under the impact, its shields flaring and sputtering. Varric's calm facade cracked. He had never faced such tactics before, and his officers struggled to adapt. The Empire tried to counter with brute force, but the Alliance had anticipated every move. A wing of invisible fighters suddenly appeared behind an Imperial carrier, launching missiles that disabled its engines. A squadron of hybrid cruisers fired a coordinated barrage that shattered an entire line of enemy frigates. The battle was turning into a display of tactical ingenuity, as the Alliance exploited every weakness and mistake. Amidst the chaos, acts of heroism shone. A human pilot pushed his damaged fighter to its limits, drawing enemy fire away from a crippled Allied ship. A Zintari captain used his cruiser to shield a squadron of Alliance bombers, sacrificing his own safety to protect the mission. Every Allied ship seemed to know exactly where to be, every action part of a larger plan. The Empire's forces began to falter. Their confidence was gone, replaced by confusion and fear. Admiral Varric knew the battle was slipping from his grasp. His fleet, so certain of victory moments ago, now found itself on the defensive, unable to match the speed and strategy of this new and unexpected enemy. Finally, as the Alliance pressed their advantage, Varric gave the order to retreat. His voice was tight with anger, but he knew there was no other choice. The Imperial ships began to pull back, firing defensively as they moved away from the onslaught. The Alliance let them go, conserving their resources and allowing the retreat. They had achieved what they came for. The rebels, saved from certain destruction, sent their thanks across the comms. The Alliance had done the unthinkable. They had faced the might of the Galactic Empire and emerged victorious. The Imperial fleet, once a symbol of unchallenged power, was now limping away, overwhelmed and confused. The galaxy would hear of this day, and nothing would ever be the same again. The defeat of the Imperial fleet reverberated throughout the galaxy like a shockwave. Within days, news of the unexpected loss reached the highest echelons of the Empire. The once unquestioned authority of their rule was suddenly in doubt. Whispers of Earth's secret fleet spread through the corridors of power. High-ranking officials and military strategists convened in urgent meetings, their confidence shaken. For the first time, they were forced to consider Earth as a serious player in the galactic arena. A planet they had dismissed as insignificant had managed to outmaneuver their most formidable forces. Questions arose about what else Earth might be hiding, what other secrets lay beneath its unassuming surface. The Empire's intelligence networks went into overdrive, gathering every scrap of data they could find. The sheer audacity of the Alliance's success compelled them to rethink their strategies. The implications were profound. If a small, newly formed coalition could achieve such a victory, what might happen if others followed suit? The Empire's strength, once perceived as invincible, now seemed vulnerable, and its enemies sensed a shift in the balance of power. Back within the Alliance, the atmosphere was electric. The once hidden coalition was now a public entity, its existence and purpose known throughout the galaxy. The rebel faction, whose annihilation had seemed inevitable, sent messages of gratitude, their hope rekindled by the Alliance's daring intervention. Across distant worlds, other oppressed civilizations took notice. They saw the cracks in the Empire's facade and began to question its dominance. Delegations arrived from planets once too afraid to resist, eager to join the cause. The Alliance, which had begun as a fragile pact between disparate groups, was now growing stronger by the day. Commander Reyna Hart, standing amid the celebration, felt a mix of triumph and uncertainty. The battle had been a victory, but it was only the beginning. She knew the cost of war all too well. She had seen the lives lost, the sacrifices made. She understood that this was only the first step, a taste of what lay ahead. The Empire would not take this defeat lightly. It would regroup, strategize, and retaliate with a force they had yet to see. But she also saw the bond that had been forged among the Alliance members, a bond that transcended their differences and fueled their resolve. Humans, Lithans, Zinthari, and others now stood united, not just as allies but as comrades. Hart knew that challenges loomed on the horizon. The Empire was wounded, but far from defeated. Retaliation was inevitable, and it would come swiftly and with vengeance. The Alliance needed to prepare, to build on the momentum of their victory and strengthen their defenses. They would need to innovate further, adapt their strategies, and anticipate the Empire's next move. Yet, despite the uncertainty, there was a sense of hope, a belief that they had proven something vital. They were not powerless, they were not voiceless, and they would not be ignored. The Alliance leaders gathered once more, their expressions serious but determined. They knew the path ahead would not be easy. The Empire was a colossal foe with vast resources and an iron will to maintain its rule. But they also knew they had achieved something remarkable. They had shown the galaxy that resistance was possible, that courage and unity could stand against oppression. As they pledged to continue their fight for freedom, they understood that their journey had only just begun. A new era of resistance was dawning, one where the oppressed would rise, united in their defiance. The alliance had taken its first step, and the galaxy would never be the same.